If you have been here for any length of time, you've heard me talk about Tad Williams. I've promoted his live streams in our Discord on multiple occasions when he does his read throughs. And if you've read any of my previous works, such as Echoes of the Past, which we do live read throughs of for members, I've talked about um, some of the writers who inspired me when I was writing this. I took heavy inspiration from Tad Williams when I was working on the Ellenhigh and the Eldenai, which are my two versions of the elves, and the civil war that they had. Definitely was inspired by the version of elves that Tad Williams had in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. But also, the relationship between Jimmy the Hand and for the Prince in the Rift Force Saga by Raymond Feist, that was Darren and Jerian, and then just Robert Jordan. I mean, kind of the style, the way that I wrote that was definitely inspired by Robert Jordan. But Tad Williams was a major inspiration for me, and he's usually in my top five authors of all time when it comes to fantasy. He's not only good at fantasy, though. I've also loved his Tad Williams series, and then he's got a bunch of other stuff. He's done a lot of different uh, types of stories over the years, but I tend to gravitate more towards his fantasy novels than I do his other stuff. And that's not to say I don't like his other stuff, but Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn holds a special place in my heart, and I will read anything the guy publishes because I think he's amazing. But this announcement caught my eye today on his Facebook page, and I just had to share it with everybody. So, Asta Publishing House and DAW Books announces Betsy Walham at DAW Books acquires two fantasy novels by New York Times bestseller Tad Williams. North American rights to two fantasy books by Ted Williams, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The first of the two books scheduled for the fall of 2024 is The Splintered Sun. Set in Williams' beloved and well known fantasy world of Osten Ard, The Splintered Sun follows the adventures of a Robin Hood esque figure known as Flann Alderwood and his band of misfit rebels in one of Osten Ard's oldest and strangest cities, Cranhir. The Splintered Sun is a fast moving adventure that will thrill newcomers diving into the world of Osten Ard for the first time while weaving together many parts of previously unrelated Osten Ard history for all readers who are eager to delve into the pre Dragonbone share history of Hernistir and Erkenland. Um, it says here, short summary set in the New York Times world. Mythical figure of Flann under Alderwood, and his band of misfit rebels. As the old king of Hernistir's health worsens, the realm has been thrown into chaos. Warlords divide the land up amongst themselves, and questions about the heir to the throne continue to cause conflict. Flann, along with with mysterious allies both common and noble, must aid the king's one legitimate heir in his quest to receive his father's blessing and attempt to return stability to the realm while pursued by enemies eager to end his life. Now, I think this is really cool because this is coming on the heels of um, him finishing up his Osten Ard trilogy that is a continuation of the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series. Now, I have not read the new trilogy, and there's a reason for that. I made a vow years ago, about 7, 8 years ago, that I was no longer going to read book series that weren't finished, even if they were by my favorite authors. And that's because of things like George R. R. Martin taking 11, 12 years to finish the last, not the last, but the current Game of Thrones book we're working on, and the Name of the Wind guy, whose name escapes me at the moment, who has taken similarly more than a decade, I think, to get his third book out. What people have just been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. I have so many other things that I do with my time: video games, other book series, Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, all the amazing shows that Chris and I watch, all the stuff we're working on with our own world, all the things that I do as a writer and a game developer, working with Chris and my brother on The Weave and the Void. Continuing to work on Saga of Leucemia in the background, book two. Um, I don't have time to read books that might never get to completion or series that might never get to completion. So, I haven't read his new trilogy. I've heard great things and I can't wait to actually sink my teeth into it and continue my adventures in Osten Ard. But this caught my eye. I love Ted Williams. I've been following him on Facebook forever. I also follow him on Twitter, but mostly I interact with him on Facebook because he does all his live streams on Facebook. And it's really cool to sit there and hang out with him. And he does it at crazy odd hours, which are sometimes hard for me to watch live, but I'll when I can. But he reads through all his past publications and he does it in a way that is just really fun because he does the voices and he's in character, and it's just really cool to see an author diving into their own work and breathing life into the characters that we've only ever seen on page and sort of imagined for ourselves. So that's one of the reasons I've been, really happy to follow him over the years on his social media. This for me is really exciting um, because again, Memory Star and Thorn was sort of a defining fantasy trilogy for me. I mean, yeah, it's 4 books, but still, I always call it a trilogy. Um, to Green Angel Tower is one of the best conclusions. I mean, oh god, everything about that series is amazing. But To Green Angel Tower is one of those best conclusion novels that you're ever going to get in a trilogy, and it's so freaking massive. I'm sorry, excuse me for that, everybody. I had coffee beforehand and that came up. I apologize. Um, the way it concludes the storyline and being split into 2 volumes, like because it was just so big, and all the different moving parts and the various swords that are in play and everything else. I think when you have a writer who is capable of writing such good dialogue and descriptions and keeping things moving at a fast pace and doing so, I would also add, in a way that was very, it's a family friendly novel. It's like, maybe it might be PG-13, but it's more like PG, than PG-13. It's definitely one of those things that I read as a teenager and was just enthralled with, and have continued to love over the years. And that's what led me to his other Land series of novels, which again was just an amazing sequence of craziness in terms of the virtual reality worlds, and that was near and dear to my heart because I've always been huge into gaming. And when I read Otherland, I was big into MMORPGs. I was just getting into MMORPGs. EverQuest had just come out, and it was this thing of just knowing what it was like, and being able to read about it on page and to envision what it was like to go into virtual reality. Really cool stuff. Anyway, I'm really excited about this. I think it's also cool that it's just going to be a 2 book thing as opposed to a new trilogy of books, because he's been really busy in recent years just fleshing out the world of Osten Ard even more, coming back from the Bobby Walker series, I think is what it's called, which is a fun series about like the Angel Detective. Um, but it's nice to see him back in Osten Ard and flexing those fantasy roots for a change. And I can't wait to sink my teeth into this new 2 book series, and also to read the new trilogy that he's got set in the world of Osten Ard. So anyway, that's my little update. If you liked this, do me a favor, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get more updates from my YouTube channel. I do lots of different things, obviously video games, TV shows, and beyond, but I'm also an author and I love all sorts of book related stuff. So occasionally you'll see stuff like this crop up on my channel, um, related to books, because this was always my first and foremost passion. And before I ever got into game development, I was a writer for many years before I got into game dev. And being able to follow guys like this over the course of my lifetime has been really cool. And it's really awesome to see them continuing to flourish and create amazing worlds for us all to go live in and explore in. So support if you can. Drop a super thanks on this video. Join as a member of the Adventurers Guild down there, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video, whenever that might be. Until then, everybody, stay safe. Happy reading.